Hello and welcome for tuning in to another episode of the Untold. This is the show where we have amazing people, humorous people for today's episode. I'm your host Abdullah Hindiani. I'm joined by my colleague.
And I'm Najeen Al-Athari, and today we're joined by Mustafa Mullick, who is a man who wears many hats. He's a content creator, a creative, he studied mechanical and robotic engineering, and he loves to make people laugh. I'm curious how he fits all of that into one persona.
Yeah, honestly, reading the brief on him and then seeing his socials is like two completely different people, but they mix and match in such a coherent way. I'm so intrigued to actually sit down and talk to him.
So am I. I'm curious what he has to say of how he transitioned from a very scientific, analytical kind of field towards a much more lighthearted, creative, funny, more people-oriented field.
Yeah, honestly, I am curious as well. And to answer our questions, we are going to take a break. We'll come right back with him. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, but most importantly, thank you for being with us. I'm gonna say Mufasa. That's your nickname. Did I
My
get it
brother
right?
Abdullah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. It means a lot to me, and I'm so excited.
Well, we're
No,
excited to have you. And I want to ask you about your background. You were studying mechanical and robotic engineering, was that it?
Yes, so I studied mechanical and robotics engineering, and I finished that. And initially, I started with mechatronics, and it's kind of the same thing, but I started off in Canada, and then I switched my program to the UK because I got hit by a bus
Oh, no
in
way.
Canada. Yeah,
I'm
so
so sorry.
yeah, no, thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, ala kull hal, I'm okay now.
Alhamdulillah.
But what ended up happening was that my university, I was in the University of Waterloo in Canada, and they were not accommodating whatsoever after my accident. And I was in a co-op program, and a co-op program for Canada, it's an honors program, specifically in this University of Waterloo, that it was 5 years, okay? So with 2 years of integrated work experience.
Okay.
So how it works is that you have 8 months in a year where you're just studying, and then the remaining 4 months where you're working.
Yeah.
And it's split into different sections where it's work, and then study terms. And there's no summer vacation.
Oh,
So it was in a very intense program.
sounds like it.
Yeah, exactly. But then after my accident, they wanted to delay me another year. So then it would take me 6.5 years to just get my undergraduate degree.
Oh,
So my
That's too
parents told
long.
me, go to the UK, finish your degree in 3 years, and that's what I did, alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, I'm glad it worked out. And
Yeah.
were they able to accommodate you better there as well?
That's a whole different story. Like yes, in terms of the whole situation with graduating, how the exams were, and all of that, I also was more mature, so I was able to manage myself better because when I went to Canada, it was the first time that I was living alone. But I would say that from my experience in Canada, I was able to definitely finish in the UK because of what I went through for sure. And they weren't as very super accommodating. I feel like universities in America are more accommodating than in the UK and Canada and other places in Europe.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. So you finished your studies, right? Because I think when we got the brief on you, and for me personally, it says in robotics and everything science and studying in the UK and Canada, and then but you are here for your content creation. So you've finished your studies, and then you like, or
Yeah.
did you switch career like midpoint?
So I finished my studies, and I'll tell you guys like how I kind of started the content creation thing. I was in my last term of uni, and like my whole life up until that point, I was just kind of on fun, easy mode of just, okay, all I have to do is study. All I have to do is make sure that I do well on my next exam. All I have to do is just make sure that I wake up for my next class. I didn't have that mindset of what I want to do in 5, 10 years. But when I was finishing uni, this time where I was realizing that, oh my gosh, I have to, do something with either this degree or with my life. And even though I feel like technical work is so impressive and it's so vast, and I'm so inspired by people who are skilled at technical work, I realized it wasn't for me. I couldn't be the guy who was crunching numbers and being able to use those numbers and present them in a way that would make people be like, oh, okay, this is a new project that we want to work on. So because of that, and I realized where my strengths and weaknesses were, my strengths is more with people. and I have a personal passion for entertainment.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I listed out some things of what I wanted to do with my future. And then content creation was a breakaway path that I saw to start on that path. So I started like just a couple months before I graduated, and now I'm continuing.
Well, first of all, I want to say that's a crazy backstory. It went from a lot of different places and landed to where it is now.
Yeah.
And honestly, good on you for overcoming all of that stuff. It couldn't have been easy. And do you think that all the stuff you dealt with helped you become more creative in a way, or helped you find your creative purpose in a better way?
I feel like creativity stems, first of all, from a lot of things, but it definitely stems, a very root part of it is from personal experience. So, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I want to ask you guys as well. Where do you guys think creativity stems from? That's an interesting question.
Oh, that's a
It is a
very
really
interesting
good
yeah.
question.
Especially as someone who's not really creative, so I don't really know how to answer that question. Well, I guess, for me personally, I think, imitation is a form of flattery. I think for me, creativity comes from being inspired by something and then not necessarily imitating it, but trying to replicate the feeling that you got by, practicing what you're feeling, if that makes sense.
It does kind of make sense. But for me, I would say creativity comes from all forms of life, like you said.
Yeah.
In some sense, I feel like everything is creativity almost, because even when you think of science and stuff, you're creating things in science, and all the great inventions had to come from imagination first. And
Definitely.
without imagination, without people being creative or thinking they can go outside of the box, nothing would ever be invented or be done.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's all kind of connected. And actually, it makes me want to ask you, do you think there is a connection between logic and creativity? Because I think a lot of people probably look at you and think, how is an engineer making people laugh or doing all of this artistic stuff?
Okay, I just want to hold on that question. Just before I answer it, I wanted to build on a point that Abdullah said, which was imitation is a form of flattery. I read in this book, it's called, it's just an art book. I forgot what it was called. But it said that good artists copy and great artists steal.
Yeah.
And what is stealing is when you take something and you make it your own. So the way that some artists see inspiration from nature and other artists, and they take it and they don't just copy it because that's boring. They take it and they remix it and they make it their own. That's also where I feel like when you said imitation is a form of flattery, a really big part of it can come from that, which is inspiring to me. Now to answer your question in regards to connection with logic and creativity, building on that whole subject, I definitely feel like there is a combination of both, and there is a balance of both. So let's take, for example, architecture. You can be vastly creative with architecture, although at the end of the day, it has to be grounded in some reality and what is possible. Coming from an engineering background, for structural engineering and the dynamics and physics of materials, there's a certain amount of weight and shapes that you can cut certain materials. Even though an architect may have the most creative mind and wants to make this insane structure or sculpture, it has to also be grounded within the logic of how that is physically possible. And that's just one example within architecture, but I feel like there's so many different aspects of life where creativity and logic has to come together. Um, that question also, I feel like there's so much more that could be built onto it, and it's a very vast topic.
It is.
Honestly, there's also the right brain and left brain
Yeah.
argument.
We're going into the, sophisticated kind of arguments about defining humor. And, speaking of which, as someone who has pursued humor, what is it about, making people laugh is a form of storytelling that you really like and you really pursue?
So what is it about making people laugh that I pursue? Well, I just feel like humor is universal, no matter who you are, where you come from, how old you are, everyone loves to laugh, I think it's one of just the best emotions ever. So it just makes me happy when other people are happy. It makes me inspired to see that I could make somebody smile and I could make them laugh through something that I do, which is, for example, telling a story or remixing a story or making something up to just, you know, entertain people. So it comes out of the humane feeling of happiness in seeing someone laugh and happy.
I think that's wonderful. I think in the end of the day, when you just want to make other people happy, that makes you happy as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that you're able to sort of put on so many different hats, if that makes sense, within your creative work or your content creation.
Code switching.
Especially, exactly, code switching. Is that like some of the new terminology for it?
Yeah.
Are we getting old, Abdullah?
I think, yeah, I think for me personally, I'm way past that point.
You just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I do agree with you. I think that there's so much when it comes to creativity and logic and science, and people always forget how connected everything is in the world. And what I love about the fresh take you take in your videos and your content creation is you try to encompass everything that makes you you. So how do you balance all of that? Like all the different hats per se, or all the code switching?
Okay, this is something that I am still almost struggling with, to be completely frank, because I don't know, right? What is the balance between what people want to see and how much sides of myself that I can show and what is interesting? Because at the end of the day, in content creation, I could just be completely me and not even try to put on a character, for example. A character, yeah, it's a part of me. It's authentically created by me, but it's a character. It's not 100% me, right? For example, Shamsuddin. I love this guy. He's a character that makes people laugh and smile, and my friends love him, I love him, my family loves him, but it's just one side of me, right? And okay, now I have to balance that character with different characters and different types of visions and lenses that I see the world with. So how do I do that? How do I balance between it? And at the same time, make sure that it's balanced between what the algorithm likes and how the views are showing. It's difficult. It's something that I'm still trying to manage. It's something that I'm still trying to figure out. And I feel like I've honestly just started. So inshallah, in the future, in the upcoming months and years, I'll be able to answer that question better.
So do you feel like you're under constant pressure as a content creator to always push something out to the people, even if you're not feeling creative at the moment? Or are you just taking it, you know, whether you get an inspiration and amusement, that's where you post something? Or are you, you know, following those kind of algorithms, you know, trying to hit when the iron is hot?
See, I think that you have to be consistent in terms of content creation, no matter how you're feeling. If you want to wake up feeling happy or sad, or you don't even consider how that is, it doesn't matter. You have to be consistent within this game, because if you're not, somebody else will be. So even if I'm not feeling inspired, I would usually have like backup plans. For example, okay, if I really don't want to post, I just won't post. It's fine. But I know for sure that there's something that I could do. Maybe I could think of a way that I could make a video and do something that I would want to do that day. For example, just to make it easy for you guys to understand, one day I have like backed up footage, but I don't feel like editing all the time, and I'm not working with a bunch of editors at this point where I could just send them the footage and get it back easy to post, right? But I wanted to paint, okay? And I'm like, okay, I want to paint, but I don't necessarily want to paint something that is very structured and I have to put time into. I just want to do it for fun. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And just before I was about to start, I was like, let me just document this. Let me put up my phone with a tripod and document it. And I documented it, and I painted random faces, and then I painted some trees, and then I ended up being a sword with a mountain in the background. And it ended up being okay. It wasn't the most beautiful painting, but it was something that I had fun with and something that I enjoyed. Did it do super well with the algorithm? No. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely. And was I feeling the inspiration to do something that was targeting the algorithm and targeting the people and targeting something that would get views in that specific day? No. But I was still able to put something out. And I feel like within this field that's extremely competitive, You have to be like that. You have to be daily putting in the work.
Yeah, honestly, we are going to go on a break, but you reminded me of something that I read about like 2 weeks ago, which is a funny anecdote. I think we all remember the meme on the internet that was the double rainbows guy, where
Oh,
he
yeah.
was filming videos and there was two rainbows. He's like, "Oh, it's the double rainbow."
Yeah.
So actually, that guy, he passed away a few years ago. Yeah, but here's the, I would say, morbidly funny anecdote. Because he loved content creation so much, he filmed videos that are still posted to this day on his account,
Oh,
even
wow.
years after he
No
died.
way.
That's how much he loved content creation. That's how much he loved bringing joy to people. There's something about content creation and watching people happy. It's just an unrivaled feeling. And of that rant, we are going to take a very quick break and we'll come right back after this one.
And we're back from that short break. We were just talking about, creativity and content creation and how difficult it is to kind of be consistent. That's something I struggle with. Like, there was a period in my life where I thought, maybe I'll try content creation, but having to post every single day and think of the algorithm, all that different stuff, I was too lazy for that. So I just let it pass me by, if that makes sense. But I was okay with that because with my personality, that's kind of what fits me more and makes me happier. But I do love that you said that you were able to, even on a day when you're not feeling it, you did something that's fun and good for you, and you still posted it, whether it gets views or not. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with because they put too much pressure on themselves to always be performing and producing. And I think a lot of people are unaware of how difficult it is to always be on the go that way.
Well, I feel that way too. I feel that pressure, and I feel that sense of, oh my gosh, I have to make sure that this performs, and I have to make sure that this does well. And now I want to open up the topic that we were just briefly speaking about off camera. What do you guys think matters more, the outcome or the process behind the outcome, the experience behind the outcome? Is it just how many views this videos get, or how much did I enjoy making that video? What is that balance for
That's
you
a
guys?
difficult one.
It is. I think for me personally, I'm always a fan of the journey instead of the destination. I've always been, if the journey is worth it, the destination is going to feel much better. And I think, seeing the passion and the effort and the, process that goes into making something, for me, just feels more rewarding, right? It just feels more joy and fulfilling to actually see the fruits of labor on display.
Absolutely.
That's a really good point. For me, I would say it depends on what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're being literal about the journey and destination, like in terms of traveling, I would prefer to just get to the place I want to travel to and enjoy my vacation. I hate airports and the long journeys, trains. Just take me there. I don't know why teleportation doesn't exist yet.
Right.
But when it comes to creativity, I think the journey is more important because a lot of things stem from stuff we've forgotten about our childhood. Kids know how to have fun. They know how to do things without thinking about, is it valuable? Will it make me money? Does it have to be perfect? They just do it because it makes them happy. And when you're doing stuff that makes you happy, other people start taking note and they start seeing how good you are. And over time, you become really good at what you do. So I think the journey plays a very important part.
I love your guys' answer so much, to be honest, because this is a question that, and this is actually not just a question, but like an overall topic that I'm trying to figure out more as I'm growing up and learning more about this creative space and different creative ventures that I'm trying to branch into. And you know how you said that when you are naturally doing something because you find it fun and other people gravitate towards it, I feel like that law of attraction is definitely true.
I
And
agree.
it definitely is real, but there is a balance. And especially because we are getting older, and even though that kiddish creativity with that non-inhibition feeling to just do what you want and have fun is the best feeling ever, we have to face reality that at the end of the day, we need to use our time wisely, and we can't just do everything for fun because we're getting older. We need to make money. We need to make sure that we're using all of our resources in an adequate way. Eloquent, I don't even know.
Eloquent.
Adequate way. I'm not speaking eloquently. But yeah, there has to be a balance, I feel, with the the result, and also having fun behind the process and the journey that behind the destination, for sure. For so
Absolutely.
many different things.
Yeah. And you know, honestly, I just want to take a brief moment and say, because you two both brought the idea of kids having fun, you know, I was just gonna say that's because they're jerks. They don't care about people's feelings.
Why do you hate
So
children?
that's, you know, that's on on one of those
Something
points.
happened with this guy.
What happened to you? What were
You know, a lot of trauma with kids on my age, right? It's not before, not when I was a kid, but in my age, a lot of trauma with kids. I'm like, okay, you guys have your own world. I'm gonna have my own world.
Facts.
Yeah.
we're gonna need to do an untold story about
Untold
you
with
with the
yeah,
kids.
hopefully. You know, onto your creative side, I am a little bit curious about something. You know, do you think, have you found your voice yet as a content creator, or are you still in that process of trying to see where you land, you know, in this sphere?
I'm still within the process of trying to figure out where I'm landing. And in my opinion, I feel like I've honestly just started. So every single day that goes by, you said something also just before we started, you're taking things day by day. And I feel like we have to have a long-term vision, but at the same time, we need to just take things day by step, right? Because that's what gives us the motivation, that's what keeps us steady, and that's what keeps us sane. So I'm still finding my voice. I'm still finding where I want to be in not just 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, and 5 years. Inshallah, 50 as well. Like,
Well, who knows where the future will go, but
yeah,
inshallah, all good things.
Bismillah.
But actually, I do want to ask you, since you mentioned about talking eloquently or whatever we said, how many languages do you speak? Because I also heard that you speak fluent Kuwaiti as well.
So I don't speak completely fluent Kuwaiti. I can speak like decently fluent Kuwaiti for a casual situation. Professional, I'm still trying to work on it for sure. And it's mainly because of my friends that you know, I've grown up with in high school. And it was really fun learning with them for sure. English, I'm completely fluent, and Hindi as well. So Hindi I can speak not also completely fluently and not professionally, but also casually. I mean, enough to get by. So I'd say 3 languages.
But that's pretty impressive still. Most people can't speak that many languages, even passably at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that helps you a lot with your content creation?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I haven't really made that many videos in Hindi. I feel like in the future, I definitely do want to do that. I also like to make music, and I want to make music in Hindi too, because I feel like it's an untapped market where I can kind of breach into. I mean, it's not an untapped market, you know, Bollywood's an insanely huge industry, but kind of do it in my own way, you know, and even in Arabic.
Yeah, mashallah. You know, this brings up a point, and it's something I'm really curious about, because you've also mentioned before that you paint, and you know, you've discussed you've had an account for photography, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
and now you've shared your music endeavors. You're also content creation. So, you know, how do you balance all of these roles? Like, how, where do you find the time to dedicate, you know, yourself for one of them each at a time?
I'm still, time management, my dad says, is the most important thing for success. My time management skills are just okay, right? I'm trying to improve, I'm trying to get better, I'm trying to make sure that I wake up earlier, and I structure my day very well. And I feel like it is by having structure and routine. That is the most important thing. When you have structure and routine and you don't need to think about when you're going to do stuff, and you plan it ahead of, this is when I'm going to do this. And after I go to the gym, then I'm going to brainstorm for videos. And then after I brainstorm for videos, then I'm going to do meal prep. And then after I finish my meal prep, da 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 da. So once you plan out your day, you see that you have a lot of time that you can work with. Right? We all have 24 hours in a day, but how come Elon Musk was able to build this multi-billion-dollar company and send stuff to Mars? You know, it's crazy because he was able to use his time and use his energy and use his resources in a way where he's also able to, what is it called when you give tasks to other people?
Delegate.
Delegate.
Yeah, he was able to delegate responsibilities in a very good way. And I feel like once you set yourself a good foundation and base for your own time management, then you can delegate responsibilities. For example, I spend so much time editing right now. But inshallah, in the future, when I find somebody, and I already have one guy who's really good that I'm working with, and I want to work with him more, inshallah, in the future.
Sure.
that I can just send out a bunch of clips to and not have to worry about editing as much, so I can use that time for other things. So I feel like it's time management, but it's hard, dude. Doing these things is hard, and especially when you're working, and if you're working in fields that are hard or difficult or soul-sucking and draining, it's difficult to manage. We're all human at the end of the day.
No, balance is, I think, the eternal struggle for everybody, and especially in this day and age where everything is very busy and fast-paced, and we're trying to do it all, but sometimes it feels impossible. So good on you for trying to find time management and trying to manage your time correctly. Delegation will come later. I think most successful people always have people who can help them out with the nitty-gritty or the finer details to give them time on the big ideas, but you'll get there, inshallah. And I also want to ask, you mentioned something before about trying to merge all the aspects of yourself or all these different sides. What does that mean for you?
So the different sides, and Abdullah was saying, you know, I like photography, I like making videos, content creation, entertaining, making people laugh, I like making music. It's building, it's continuing to do this, and in the future, I feel like naturally it's kind of gonna come together. Right now, I have that vision in my mind, and I just working step by step, day by day to make that vision a reality.
I think that's a great point to make, because I forgot, you know, which person, I mean, I can say he was a very successful person, you know, said that, you know, you have to think 10 years ahead, but don't think of the now or tomorrow. And I think that point is great, is that you always got to have long-term plan, but enjoy the moment, right? Enjoy the little
Definitely.
details. I think that's a key, you know, takeaway for good living and also purposeful living. With that being said, you know, unfortunately we have run out of time, but I do want to thank you for joining us and sitting with us on The Untold.
Thank you so much, Abdullah and Lujain. You guys were such great hosts, and this was so fun. Everybody has to tune into the Untold podcast. All right,
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
were an amazing guest, and I wish you the best of luck with all of your endeavors because I see great success in your future.
Inshallah. Thank you
And
so much.
honestly, you're killing it right now. So just keep going, keep having fun as well.
Uh, just before we finish, I want to say one more point. I was in this taxi ride going towards the airport, and I was really nervous,
Yeah.
and I was younger, and it was the first time that I was traveling by myself, right? And I was telling the taxi driver how I was so scared of all of these different thoughts that I had in mind, and the accommodation, this, that, I don't know, being alone. He just told me, he was giving me advice, but at the end, just before I left the car, he said what you said. Don't forget to have fun.
I don't know what it is, but I feel like whenever you travel, these taxi drivers are always so full of wisdom. They always are dropping like
Right?
such important advice. And you're like, where did you come up with this?
I
But
swear.
I'm glad, and just please keep having fun.
Thank you.
But that's all we have for now. So stay tuned for after the break.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we've had on The Untold. Honestly, he was very funny. He was very humorous. I hope the audiences can see how funny he was behind cameras as well.
I agree. He was very eloquent, very well spoken, but he was also so full of authenticity. And he was himself. And you could tell that no matter where life threw him, he knew how to pursue his passions. And I think that's something very admirable.
It is, honestly, you know, I love that the takeaway from this episode is to have fun and to also, you know, pursue what you love. I think that's a great message to end the episode. And on that note, we are going to end today's episode. That's it from us, the team of The Untold. Until the next one, goodbye for now.
Goodbye, and don't forget to follow your creative pursuits.